Hello developers, hope you are doing well. This is my first video I am recording for you. I will share my projects, my live projects with you, and we will solve errors in real time. Also, I will use professional practices so you can find that do web projects in real life. And these are all my Fiverr projects, and I have these ideas from Fiverr and I'm going to implement just for you. Okay, so I have also created a developers community on Facebook, and you can join the group. You can find everyone can actually join the group, and you can find the link below in the description. Okay, so let's get started with Vue checkout system. First of all, we'll build up a Vue cart system. Like you maybe noticed the cart systems in almost every e-commerce website. So I named it Vue Shopica, and it's a single page, actually a one page Vue checkout system, and we are going to build it with Vue plus Firebase as a backend service. And Vue, actually, let's get started from a little introduction of Vue.js. So Vue.js is the progressive JavaScript framework to build amazing web apps. We can actually build single page applications, SSRs, universal web apps like with Next.js, and PWAs, and mobile application, desktop applications, and hybrid mobile applications like Cordova or Ionic, or using Quasar framework. Okay, so this is actually a single page application. I will also give you training on how you can build server-side rendered applications using Next.js, and also PWAs and mobile applications, actually native mobile applications like React Native, and we will build these applications using native script Vue. Okay, so we will also discuss about how we can build desktop applications using Electron, and also hybrid mobile applications or Cordova apps or Ionic and Quasar framework. Okay, so we will use Firebase as a backend. It's actually a complete backend solution from Google, and it have many features, but we will discuss authentication, real-time database, Firestore, cloud functions, and hosting. And there are also other features of Firebase. You can check on their official website, but we are going to discuss these 5. Okay, so what is our project structure? So first of all, we have to do some simple login and sign up. We don't have to do any role-based authentication, but simple login and sign up system. And then we have our checkout page designing using Bootstrap Vue. Here I'm introducing Bootstrap Vue, and we will it's actually a framework which allow us to use Bootstrap in Vue efficiently. Okay, and then we have to implement cart system, and then payment screen, and then checkout. We are not going to actually integrating any payment gateway, but we will design it, so maybe you can do in your future projects. Okay, so this is our simple checkout system user interface sketch. Here we will have our header, and this will be our sidebar for the navigation, and this will our product area. So all the products are listed here, will be listed here, and this will be our checkout panel where we have our total, and other things will be gone here. Okay, so things we are going to use, which things we are going to use in our application, in our checkout system. We are defining Vuex for it's actually store management for Vue.js, and Vue router, and Firebase, and Bootstrap Vue, and also Vue Suite Alert. Okay, so let's start coding. So I just created a folder called YT tutorials where our everything will be here. Okay, so creating a folder like saying Shopica. Okay, so first of all, what we have to do for a better code storing and version control system, we have to use GitHub. So you can just simply go to github.com, and if you don't have an account, you can simply sign up for an account, and this will be the screen after login. Just creating a new repository, naming it Shopica. and it is public, so everyone can access, no any description, and just create the repository. Okay, I am using source tree here. Simply I am cloning a repository here. Just we have to put our repo link here, and source tree will destination paths. We have a projects and YT tutorials and Shopika. Okay, so just selecting the folder and clone it. Perfect. I am using Visual Studio Code, and this is my favorite. I love it anyway. Okay, so how we can initiate our Vue project? We just have to say Vue create and dot, so it can create a project with a Vue boilerplate for us in this current directory. Saying yes, and yes, I'm going to use Vue router, Vuex, and Babel. Okay, so it will install everything, all the necessary libraries and other things for us. Let's wait. Okay, so it's just created the project Shopika, and we can now run it with the command npm run serve. Okay, so let's go to source and views and home. This is our home page. Just getting rid of all this code, we don't need it anymore. Okay, so first of all we have to manage our routes. We have this home page and this about page. Let's delete it, and it's okay, we have home page. So let's get started from home page. And once again I have to add Bootstrap in our project, so I will say Vue add Bootstrap Vue, and in the next panel I can say npm install Firebase. This is actually the installation of Firebase SDK, and I am going to use Vue Suite Alert 2. Suite Alert 2. Okay, so here we have some configurations for Bootstrap Vue. Yes, I want to use Babel polyfill, and okay, so Firebase and Vue Suite Alert is now installed. So first of all, let's create a Firebase project. Just go to firebase.google.com and then go to console. Here I have to click on add project, and here I will say YT tutorials. Just create the project. It's here. Our new project is ready. Continue. Okay, so they are saying get started by adding Firebase to your project. You can actually use the same database for iOS, for Android, for web, and for Unity. Okay, so let's get started with web. Just say YT tutorial. Also we need hosting. Register. Okay, so we don't need this. Going next. Okay, next, and just simply going next. So now we have one application in. We simply need credentials to actually use it. We can find it in here in project settings, and then going below we have configurations, and just simply copy all these things and go to our main.js, and here I have to import Firebase from Firebase. Here I should paste all these configuration keys and say Firebase dot initialize app and pass this configuration object to it. So what we need, we can actually listen all the authentication changes with Firebase. I'm saying on auth state changed, and we will have a user object here. If there is some user exists, then console log this user and say logged in, else logged out. And here I'm going to use a trick actually. Maybe in many cases an error occur when Firebase is not initialized correctly and our Vue application is mounted. So Firebase application is Firebase object is not accessible. And what we have to do for this, I will say Vue app, and I will simply remove this, and in here I will say Vue app dot mount app ID. So I should move it this thing to here, and here I should say mount app. Okay, so now we have access to our Firebase object. Anyways, we can also say Vue dot prototype dot fb equals Firebase, so we don't have to import Firebase every time when we are using it in any component. Okay, so let's go to home page and say this is home page. And okay, so let's see what our application is looking like. We have this is home page here and this one, and if I go to app.vue, I should also clear all the things from here. Also this app, okay, no ways. You can see that if I go to plugins, Bootstrap is already installed and we can use it globally in our application in anywhere. Okay, so let's say be container. So I am considering that you are familiar with Bootstrap and maybe you have some experience in Bootstrap, so we can use it in this way. You can find all the documentation here, bootstrapvue.js.org. It's a really great framework. You can use all the components. There are many components for everything, and Bootstrap is highly customizable. I always recommend Bootstrap Vue for Bootstrap projects where customization is a matter of consideration. But if you don't have to do a lot of customization, you can use Vuetify. That's a great alternative. Okay, so what we have to do here, we simply going to create a card, Bootstrap card for our login screen, vcard, and it's let me hide its footer and also header. Let me write something so I can see if it's working or not. We have this one here, and let's centralize everything in here. A really nice card, as a really nice card, let me say goals 12 and MD 6 or simply 4, that would be great. And class justify content center, also align content center, so it should be in the center of the screen. If it's not, we have to simply say custom row here. Let's do some CSS style, and I will say height 100 view height, and it's important, so it should be implemented. You can see that with this we have centered card here, and now I'm going to say h2 heading login, and then no, we should say a div here, and then we form input. I'm super lazy, so let's copy paste it. Also we should have at least a button which will say login. That's great. We can say variant primary and it should be uphill, so it will be a rounded button, with rounded corners. Okay, so it's looking great. We should have some placeholders here with like email, and this should be our password, and I am going to say we model email, and this one should be password, so we can have access to their properties, to their values. Actually, email should be null in the starting, and password should also be null. We can also do some kind of validations here in Bootstrap. It's really simple. Just simply say state and email validation, and copying it and placing it here. And I should say password validation. So how we can do validation? We can see computed property are here to help us, and also password validations, sorry, not P. Okay, so what we can see is simply if, so let's try return if this dot email is not equals null, or then you should say true, otherwise false. So as you can see that if I just click on it, if I reload the page, actually it will, you can see that it's invalid. So we don't need this form to be show invalid when it's loaded. We want the validations when our user has been touched this input field. Okay, so how we can do that? We can simply say if this dot email is equals null, then return null, so there should be no any validation error. We can then say if it's not null, or like our user has touched this email this input field, so it will show validations. I don't have any rule, just it's not null at all. And we can say that b form we have two components here, b form invalid feedback and valid feedback. We can use them to show validation errors. Just copying and saying valid, and state should be same. If it's invalid, we just have to show the message email is not valid. So we need to test the input if it's a proper email or not. What we can do, we simply have to search Google email rejects JS, actually email regular expression for email address validation. There are many good peoples on the internet, so we just have to copy this and going here, just remove it, and if it's valid, we just have to say just perfect. Okay, so let's see what happens now. If I click here, and actually there is nothing, it should be this dot email. Okay, let's try now. Email is not valid, you can see that. Okay, just perfect. And in the password, we simply we should have password should be at least of 6 characters. So we can see that we can say that this dot password is not equals null. We simply have to return this dot password dot length if greater than or equals 6. It's just perfect, otherwise it's false. And if it's not, it's null, the password is null, so this means that user is not touched until now. We simply have to return null. Now let's see what happens. You can see that it's showing. Okay, perfect. So we should also hide our characters, so just say type and password, but it will not work because it's Vue.js, so we have to do that. Okay, so on click on this login button, click, we are going to log in. Here let me create a simple method with login and say if this dot email validation and this password validation is true, then we should have to say alert login. Okay, so let's try this. We have email and this password and login, so we can actually also disable this button, like in here. I'm considering that you are familiar with basic Vue concepts and you have already now what is Vuex and what is Vue router. So email validation and okay, actually it should be disabled if email validation is false and if password validation is also false, so it will be disabled. oh sorry, I should say or. Okay, so you can see that I cannot click on it, it's active now. Okay, so here we should have to call not alert, we don't need it anymore. We simply have to say this dot store dot dispatch login. I'm calling an action here, and I simply pass the payload as email, this dot email, and password, sorry, this password, and I'm navigating to my store here. It's already set up by Vue. I should create an action login here, and I can say state payload, and simply here I am, let's check if it's called or not. It's called. So if our operation is successful, we should have an alert saying it's called. Okay, so let's test. It's called. Okay, perfect. Sometime there we make you may counter an error where the store is false. Sometimes you can encounter an error where the error message is just say that store is not defined. Alhamdulillah. Here you can see that here you can see that I was encountering a little error, that type should be password. This should not be a binding, this should be simple type password. The binding may be used in some other framework. So anyway, let's refresh the page. So there should not any simply setting some value in here, so we don't have to always put some email and password. Okay, so these are the values I set by default. So now we have to do some kind of so sometime we encounter an error where the error message is showing that the store is not defined. So how we can do that? We just simply have to configure some things. We have to actually change something here. We can say constant store is equals new vue_store, and we can export default the store. But before exporting, we can say that prototype dot store is equals store, just like Firebase. So we cannot get that error anymore. Okay, so in here I am importing Firebase from Firebase simply. So what I have done here, this is accessible from all the components but not from the store and from this router file. We cannot access this. Actually this is an undefined word in our store, but if you want to use Firebase for some purpose in a component, you can simply call it like that. Okay, so for Firebase login, we simply, I will say firebase dot auth dot fire dot create, or actually we should sign up. We don't have to create a user because I'm considering that we already have a user in here in our Firebase. So you can see that we can it accept two parameters, one email and second one is password, and it's actually a promise, so we can use .then and we can actually catch for the errors. So we have payload with some kind of email and password. So let's say email, or the first variable is payload.email. For our ease, I'm converting payload to p, and this should be email and p dot password. And if the operation is successful, just simply response console log the user. It should be log, not logo. Catch error and simply error in login. Okay, just perfect. But before doing any authentication, we should go to Firebase authentication tab and we should enable some sign in methods. I'm going to use email and password. Enable it and save. Okay, in the users, let me add a user manually, saying admin at admin.com, and password is 6A's, adding the user here. So now if I go back to home, I can hard code it for now, just for testing purpose. And if everything goes well, how we can actually check if we are logged in or not logged in, or what happens, I will tell you after this lecture ends. And in the second lectures we will watch if our user is logged in or if it's logged out, and we will use some alerts and some toasts for welcoming our user, and we will also authenticate our routes to restrict that only the logged in users can access our checkout system. So this is the login system for now. And if I open this console and if I say login, it's called, and here you can see that we are logged in. And from main.js I am getting some response from main.js. You can see that in here, logged in, and this user. We have many things. We have actually our UID here, display name, email verified or not, and this really big object. We will use it in our further videos, in our future videos. Okay, so hope you are enjoyed my video, and please subscribe me, like my video to show some support to me. I will inspire to create more videos on different projects. So we have done with our login, and in the next lecture what we will do some routing, some basic routing, and we will use Vue Suite Alert, and we will actually work on our try this at your own. And best of luck for until the next video. Okay, thank you.